They will race again on Sunday, so hopefully they'll get a chance for slightly better conditions. But as they head out for this Masters Endurance Legends race, it is going to be damp. So here is how they start. The Pescarolo of Harinder and Tim De Silva starts on pole, the first of the two team cars from Le Mans that are in Gulf Blue and Orange. The Fraser and Mack Zytec, that's the Beach Dean Ice Cream Red 5 machine, raced in period by Nigel Leo and Greg Mansell at Le Mans. That starts second. Steve Brooks in the first of the two diesel Peugeot 90Xs is third, ahead of father and son Christophe and Werner Dansenburg in their Pescarolo in fourth. An all-French lineup there. Hugo Cook starts in fifth place in his Lola B1280, ahead of the Tariba and Briggs BR01. Now that's the SMP Racing P2 chassis, the BR01s, and there are a pair of them. The Morgan Pescarolo, Judd, the Cummings and Ellis car, starts seventh, ahead of the second Peugeot of Stuart Wiltshire. Plenty of LMP2 machines, and we head into LMP3 territory as well with the Ligier GSP2. So Michael Birch, the first of those. The HPD Honda that raced in the IMSA WeatherTech series, that's in Patron colours, and then the P3 cars, the Robertson Tilley car, the fastest of those, John Mitchell, beg your pardon, in the Demon Tweaks car, rounding out the top 20. So the big Bentley Continental looking even bigger and more menacing in matte black. The Gamsking Wiley car starts in 21st. That's one of our GT3 cars. The Orica Formula Le Mans car, an open two-seater sports car with a Corvette motor. Chris Atkinson's driving that. And talking about old habits dying hard, Koroyzer has been racing Marcus's since the early 90s, and he is here in a very familiar LM600 Evo. Ian Stinton in the ex-Martin Short TVR Cerbera, and Porsche 997 Grand Am among the GT cars, with the Mosler on the tail of the field. Well, the cars are already heading out around the Grand Prix circuit here at Silverstone, and whether you've been coming to Silverstone from the era of the Silverstone 6 hours, or in Group C, the 1,000 kilometres, or more recently in World Endurance, the 6 hours again, this will be a fairly familiar sight. Some days it's sunny, some days it rains, occasionally it snows, and there's Lawrence Tomlinson's car. This is the family Ginetta G55, Lawrence and Freddie Tomlinson. That's Freddie at the wheel, I think. And no, it seems like he's hit Control Alt Delete, has got it going again, as Koroyzer goes whizzing by. Looks like he is up to speed, and that's good news. We don't want to lose any cars before we even get rolling.
We were told it was Lawrence starting, but I agree with you, it looked more like Freddie's helmet. But
yeah, I'm taking your lead from the earlier race on that. I haven't seen him racing in British GT this season, so if you think so, I'm definitely going with that. Well, we've got all sorts of cars here. LMP1, LMP2, LMP3 cars, which are a more modern iteration. But in the first couple of rows of the field, you've got those two orange and blue Pescarolos, conceived, built and run by Henri Pescarolo in the European Le Mans Series and at Le Mans from his base at Le Mans. He then had to sell the company. He'd gone bankrupt. It was bought by Jacques Nicolet, a local businessman, who turned around and gave the keys back to Henri Pescarolo. And it was Jacques Nicolet who was part of the driving team in those cars the following season at Le Mans. There's Mike Newton's red, white and blue MG Lola, again engineered by Phil Barker, and you can see the orange car of Lawrence and Freddie Tomlinson trying to work their way back into 12th place. They'll be alongside the Roll Centre Racing Dallara, the blue and lime green car being driven by Gregor Fiskin. That's the ex-Martin Short Joao Barbosa Vanina X car. We are ready to go racing. running up to the line. Here we go for the start of 40 minutes of the Masters Endurance Legends. LMP 1, 2 and 3 cars, GT cars. It is a mini Le Mans start in streamy wet conditions, and our pole sitter Harinder da Silva leads into the first corner ahead of Keith Fraser. So that is a Pescarolo ahead of the ex-Mansell family Zytek, with Steve Brooks starting third in the diesel Peugeot 90X. Now that car might take a lap or two to really get Steve Brooks up to speed. He's raced it a few times, but I don't think so much in conditions like this. And there, a looping spin from the BR01, and that, who was that? Yatuka Tarida, who started the race, I think. That LMP2 car already looping around, and Steve Brooks coming under pressure from Christophe Dansenborg in the second of those orange and blue Pescarolos, but he holds on to third place. There is the first of the two ex-factory Peugeots.
And into Brooklands and Luffield for the first time. Class still very close indeed, and what a lot of spray they're throwing up as well with these big wide wet tyres. But leading out of Luffield through Woodcote Corner, Harinder da Silva in the Pescarolo, the first one, with more blue on it than orange, as you pointed out yesterday, so it is easier to spot the difference between the two cars as they go into Cox Corner. And the number 5, the red 5, Keith Fraser in the Zytek in second place. And third place in amongst the spray. Is it still the Peugeot? Yes, it is the Peugeot of Steve Brooks, still holding on, but being challenged by the second of the Pescarolos. That's Christophe Dansenborg in the second of those cars, with more orange than blue on it, as they head out onto the hangar straight for the first time. What a fabulous sight this is.
I think I have done Yutaka Tariba a grievance, because it was not he who spun. He is in 5th position, so that might well have been Ugo Kuxlow, the B1280 that was looping around. He will be ahead of the Morgan Pescarolo, which again will be in Gulf colours, car number 47 of Andy Cummings and Bradley Ellis, with Stuart Wiltshire should be around 8th place with the second of the Peugeots. Right now, the Peugeot in second place of Steve Brooks. He's got by Keith Fraser in red 5 and is challenging the leader, looking inside Harinder da Silva. He's going to have to be cautious. There wasn't quite enough of an overlap there. And the Peugeot will have the speed on the straight to be able to try and capitalise. But at the moment, it is the Pescarolo that spins, and the Peugeot spins in avoidance. And that means coming through is Christophe Dansenborg. He goes off, and is the BR01 is not the leader, and that is red 5 coming through. Keith Fraser, who is now our new race leader, ahead of Yutaka Tariba in the BR01, car number 23. Well, that was a wild few moments, but it didn't look like much damage was done. I think probably everybody will rejoin. There is 17, Christophe Dansenborg.
He was delayed as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think the Peugeot was there just ahead of Gregor Fiskin in the Roll Centre Racing Dallara.
So they're now coming through Luffield, and we'll see after the end of this lap where those 3 cars that were involved in an incident at Village ended up, but lost a lot of places.
The irony for red 5 is that Nigel Mansell started that car at Le Mans and crashed heavily in the rain. It was not able to continue. He couldn't get it back to the pits. And yet here it is. Well, it was just leading in the rain and has now lost the lead back to the more orange of the 2 blue and orange Pescarolos. So Christophe Dansenborg, as we heard from Ed with his son Werner, first time they have raced this car. So they qualified it in the dry, racing it in the wet and hitting the front of the field.
Oh, the 2 Peugeots still in the top 6 or 7, so the leader of those 2 Peugeots, Steve Brooks, has recovered well after that incident at Village, and in fact side by side with the
Greg
Martin
Fiskin
Short car,
goes
isn't it?
through on the inside. The Scot gets ahead of number 6 Stuart Wiltshire. So that's Wiltshire, who was the second best of the Peugeots in qualifying. So Brooks is behind, and Gregor Fiskin now up to 5th position. So there's the race leader. That is Christophe Dansenborg. Second is red 5, Keith Fraser. Third place is Yutaka Tariba. And then in 4th place, coming up from 7th on the grid, Andy Cummings, the white and blue Morgan Pescarolo in the KCMG colours. Whoa! And way off circuit, I'm afraid, goes Gregor Fiskin.
Same place as the incident last lap. There must be some water there that's just catching those drivers out.
And Gregor trying to find a sensible way to come across the grass without looping it into a spin. 36 is the chrome car of Max Lynn, the chrome blue and red and white. That's the second of the LMP2 BR01s. The Peugeot coming back around the outside. Can't get through there. So this is Stuart Wiltshire. And again, a Peugeot, perhaps not with the alacrity of response of the normally aspirated LMP2 car. Christoph Danseborg leading from Keith Fraser and extending that advantage. Yutaka Tsuruda in third place, having a very good run. There's the BR01 versus Peugeot battle. Max Lynn and Stuart Wiltshire
making their way up to Beckett's now, and through goes Stuart Wiltshire past Max Lynn into Beckett's, but Max Lynn coming back at him goes around the outside in the slightly more nimble BR01, and as Martin just said, more responsive on the throttle as well. Must be very difficult to drive the diesel Peugeot Turbo in these very, very slippery conditions, and in fact Max Lynn has stayed ahead, hasn't he, as they go down onto the Hangar Straight, but the Peugeot swinging left and right, doing a bit of a Nigel Mansell on Nelson Piquet into the right-hander at Stowe Corner.
Max Lynn either not seeing it in the spray or totally ignoring it. And the LMP2 car is lighter, a little bit more nimble, better throttle response, and it's more modern as well. So another few years of aero development and suspension development as well over the Peugeot. But there again, the grunt of the Peugeot pays in the straight line. That just picks up the spot, gets ahead of the BR01. So Stuart Wiltshire moves up the order again. He's up to 6th position. So who is going quickly? Well, at the moment, Steve Brooks going very quickly in the Peugeot number 16. Here he is. We've just seen him pick up the place from the Cummings and Ellis KCMG car. Set the fastest lap of the race last time round, 2:04.4, but that's been beaten. 2:04.2 now for Christoph Danseborg, the race leader in the Pescarolo. So that is the quickest car on track. But as the conditions change and the sun is coming back out and it has sort of stopped raining, sort of slightly-ish, then the spray will die down and the grip levels will come up. And the real question is, who is going to destroy their tyres faster as the track gets less wet? Because it doesn't have to be dry to destroy the wet weather tyres, it just has to be not wet enough for the wets.
And for those of you spectating down the Hangar Straight, which is the fastest part of the circuit, the fastest car past you into Stowe Corner is Steve Brooks in the number 16 Peugeot, 168 miles per hour, 168 down the Hangar Straight in wet conditions. Quite remarkable.
Here is our race leader. Keith Fraser still in 2nd place, but now 5 seconds back, and Red 5 really under pressure from the Peugeot of Steve Brooks. They qualified 2nd and 3rd. They are running 2nd and 3rd behind a Pescarolo, but not the Pescarolo that started at the front of the field. It's the Pesca that started in 4th place in the hands of Christoph Danseborg that is the leader. Quicker lap again from Steve Brooks this time. Purple sector 1, but not as quick in sector 2. That's where he caught Keith Fraser. Now he's kind of bottled up behind that Zytek. So Zytek, renowned as an engine manufacturer, but they also had a brief period as an LMP1 chassis builder, and as you can see, it's a pretty effective job. But down the inside, Brooks sending it early and really telegraphing that move. I am coming. Keith Fraser deciding not to try shutting the door there. It's a long race, there will be pit stops in the middle. Fraser will now have to worry about Yutaka Tsuruda behind him in the first of the BR01s, but not for a moment. Tsuruda on the curbs on the inside, and that just spat him across the road. So there's a swapping of positions. BR01 goes ahead of BR01, and that's Max Lynn now ahead of Yutaka Tsuruda. And if you wonder what the difference is between the two cars, it's just a different year's colour scheme. There's the KCMG car next up. Yeah, Tsuruda just on the curbs on the inside, and that's never a great idea in the rain.
And just a suggestion, thank you to Andrew Marriott for pointing this out, that the leading car may be being driven by Tim, not Harindra, based on its pace, and that's a very good point. They've done it before. Tim is the son of Harindra, and they've done it before where they've decided Tim will either change or do the whole race, and based on the pace of the car, that may well be the correct situation.
It may well be. Max Lynn absolutely flying at the moment. He's in car number 36, which is the dark blue-nosed BR01. He's just set the fastest lap of the race. There is Keith Fraser. Fraser in third place. Max Lynn hot on his heels. Fraser's last lap at 2:05. Max Lynn's at 2:04.
I think
there he is.
Yes, Fraser there, but he's being caught now.
Yeah, there's Max Lynn right behind him. I mean, reeling him in, really hand over fist. You can really see the difference there. So that's an LMP1 car with a more modern LMP2 car coming up the inside. No way of answering that for Keith Fraser. He's got a real ringer in the car, Keith Fraser. He's got modern GT ace Mikkel Mack, who's a former factory Ferrari GT driver. He's going to be the second man in the car, or at least that is the plan. So he's got an ace in the hole. Don't count out red 5. It could well still be right at the sharp end of this race when the checkered flag comes out. But again, sun out. Is it raining? It's not raining on our side of the circuit here in the Heritage pit lane. So the race conditions are going to change. And in the background, you can see the Andy Cummings, Bradley Ellis, white and blue Morgan coming up in 6th position.
Stuart Wiltshire still battling in the Peugeot with one of the BR01s, and Stuart Wiltshire with Tariba, who of course had that moment and dropped back behind him. Tariba lucky to get away with that one actually up at Aintree, because he bounced across the curb back onto the Wellington Straight. Did lose a little bit of bodywork, didn't he, as he went off the road, but probably not too important in these conditions.
No, it will have been one of the little modesty panels behind the rear wheels probably, and not an aerodynamic dive plane or anything like that, so it will disturb the aero balance, but not in a way that the driver will probably notice as much as the way the wet weather is disturbing the balance of the car. So they're already in amongst the GT cars.
New fastest lap for Steve Brooks, 2:01.3, so he is closing in on the leader.
And there, little flash of the headlights from car number 18, Gregor Fiskin, in the Deutsche Bank X Markets Delara Judd. That car started in 11th place, now up to 8th. And he's got a BR01 right behind him, and that is the sister car to Max Lynn. That is Dad Sean, so the father car maybe to Max Lynn. I don't know. Whatever. So Sean Lynn in 9th place, and Ugo Cook in 10th place. Ugo, I think, was our spinner on lap 1 in the red and black Lola B1280. They're coming up behind the Felbermeyer Porsche, raced at Le Mans in period by Hans Felbermeyer Senior and Junior, and Miro Konopka. That car run by Proton Competition, who still compete with Porsches in the World Endurance Championship. In fact, they are leading the GT3 category in the World Endurance Championship at the moment with one of their 2 cars. And our leaders come through. This is the Fraser-Wiltshire battle.
And you've got to include Tariba in that now as well, because there he is, right there.
He is indeed. Taka Tariba in the BR01, but this is Steve Brooks under pressure from Max Lynn. Max Lynn doesn't care that the Peugeot should be a much quicker car. Completely no interest whatsoever in the predicted pecking order of these things. He's got a race car under him, and he is making it absolutely dance. Christoph Dansenborg, the lead is now out to 3.2 seconds, but Steve Brooks last time round, fastest race lap of the entire race, 2:01.3, so he actually crept away a little from Max Lynn. There, car number 17, that is Christoph Dansenborg, the race leader in the orange and blue Pescarolo with the orange on the front of the rollover hoops. The other car, the Tim and Harinder de Silva car, has more blue on the front of it. But right behind, Steve Brooks, Max Lynn, that's your 1, 2, 3. This is going to be a barnstormer, isn't it? We're nowhere near the middle of the race here. It's a 40-minute race, and the pit window will be open now.
It is.
So they've just missed the opportunity to stop now. I think probably you're going to have to get these drivers out of the car with a stick of dynamite, especially Max Lynn. Looks to go around the outside of the Peugeot, wanted to go over-under. That's didn't quite have the overlap there. He's tucking in nice and tight again. Can he get the power down? Yes, he does. Can the Peugeot get the momentum around the outside? Well, he offers Steve Brooks the curbing, and there's much less grip there. So Max Lynn gets the job done. He is up to second place, and he will hand over to Max Lynn in the pit stops.
And they're in amongst, there's another Martin Short car, the TBR Cerbera. They're in amongst the older GT cars, but the leader, Donsenberg, is still leading Max Lynn in second place, and now Steve Brooks in third place in the Peugeot, not able to hold Max Lynn back. And of course Lynn is also catching the leader, Christoph Donsenberg, as they go down into Copse Corner.
Well, now, of these three cars, in fact, ooh! And there is the other Pesca, and that is in the gravel. Oh, that is our third Pescarolo car.
And that's Harinder, isn't it?
That's Jamie Constable's Pescarolo LMP1.
Okay.
So that's again a European Le Mans Cup car. So that was the predecessor to the European Le Mans Series and Michelin Le Mans Cup that we currently have.
Made it a long way through the gravel track.
It's kind of a long way off there. That has all the hallmarks of something in the brakes. And not much retardation. 47, Andy Cummings in the KCMG car. This is another Morgan Pescarolo. So Pescarolo chassis, but when it was owned by Jacques Nicolet, they were called Morgans. Pit window is open.
A couple of cars
losing a spot to Sean Lynn. Sean Lynn goes by him there in 27.
A couple of cars in already. The Keith Rees Michael Mack car in, not surprising, because Michael Mack, as you've mentioned, the star driver in that car, and also Harinder de Silva, who did start the car. I was incorrect in what I said earlier, is handing over to son Tim as in the earliest possible opportunity to give Tim the most time in the car, the quicker of the two drivers.
John Minshaw moving up the order in the blue, red and black and vaguely demon tweak liveried Ligier JSP3. First time out for him in that car, I believe, and he's having a good run. Cummings and Ellis car, the KCMG car, is in. So too is car number 32, and that is Michael Birch's Ligier JSP 217. That's another LMP2 car, rather than the JSP2, which is the LMP3 car. Don't ask. And battle on for position here. Race leader, Christoph Dansenborg. Now, the Dansenborg's going to be at a slight disadvantage against the cars behind them, I was about to say, because Christoph knows what the track conditions are like, has got the feel for the car, but he's going to hand it over to his son Werner, whereas in second place, Max Lynn isn't going to hand it over to anybody, so the second driver of that car and of the Peugeot number 6, Steve Brooks, will be the person who knows what it feels like in these conditions, and that's going to be an advantage. Now, most of these cars are two-driver cars, and here's another classic example. This is, well, in fact, Jack Fabi, we thought was driving on his own. Who's he sharing with in car number 69? This is the Norma, Duquesne Engineering built cars now. Whoa! And the Toyota, the Peugeot rather, looking to go through on the inside. Goodness me. Well, that was wild stuff from Steve Brooks, getting ahead of the Pescarolo, which comes into the pit lane, and also getting back ahead of Max Lynn. So Steve Brooks went from third to first there. So just got ahead of Max Lynn, so Max had got back in front of him as they caught the Pescarolo, but the Pescarolo seems to be struggling for tyres. Now, I'm not sure we're seeing any tyre changes. We're seeing tyre pressure changes. You can see that going on in the background there. In comes the De Silva car, our erstwhile race leader, and here is our race-leading battle then. The longer, lower-looking car, that's your LMP1 Peugeot 90X of Steve Brooks, and behind him is the ultra-competent Max Lynn. So Charlie Kennedy is the other driver in with Jack Fabi in car number 69. coming up in traffic behind the Chrysler Viper, the Dodge Viper. That GT2 car with its 8-litre V10. Phenomenal sounding device, and I'm sure everybody in the spectator banking is thoroughly enjoying every time that car comes round. As well as the Formula One car we talked about. There's only one of them in the field here, but it's an Oreca chassis with a Corvette V8 motor, so that makes a wonderful sound too.
And the lead car into the pit lane, Donselberg, so Steve Brooks now takes over the lead, having got past Max Lynn. That's a close battle, but here's the Donselberg pit stop.
Yep. So mandatory I'm stationary, battery plugged in to get it to fire up. You must turn off your engines during the driver change, and that was a period Le Mans rule and remains one. And there's a BR01 and the ex-Martin Short Dallara in the background. That's the car that Gregor Fiskin is driving. BR01, an LMP3 Ligier coming in behind, and one of the Moslers as well. And Steve Brooks is on the grass. So big looping moment for the race leader. Max Lynn now has gone through, but had he gone through already? We only sort of caught the end of that, and that was coming from Maggots into Beckett, so did he trip over traffic? Or did he just ask a little too much of the tyres? Well, there's Max Lynn in front. He's got past an LMP3 Ligier, and I wonder whether it was with the Ligier maybe that Steve Brooks had the issue. Here's the TVR Cerbera versus Porsche battle. So there's Ian Stinton driving the car that was driven in period in the British GT Championship by Martin Short and Rob Bath. And Max Lynn leading. Now he can pick and choose when he wants to come in. I'm sure he will.
He has to stop for an extra 40 seconds, does Max Lynn. So we will see a big change when he does his pit stop, and Keith Frieser and Michael Mack an extra minute, so they had to stop for 2 minutes. All
LMP3 battle, and you'll see this this weekend in fact in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. The dished nose is the Ligier JS3, and behind it is the Norma, now built by the company owned by Gilles Duquesne, so now called a Duquesne, but it initially is a Norma design. So both these LMP3 cars sharing the same power unit. All LMP3 cars use the same Zytec power unit, Nissan power unit, beg your pardon. Sharing the same tyres here as well. Here's one of the BR01s stationary. There's the Peugeot in the pit lane in front. Now is that 16? Yeah, Steve Brooks is in. So Sean Lynn is that, and Mike Newton, car number 25, behind. And if you look for a man with a big shock of white hair, that is the team boss. He'll be on the pit wall. The team that ran the car in period was RML, here of course celebrating their 40th anniversary. The Proton Felbermeyer Porsche is in the pit lane as well, car number 88, as was Steve Osborne driving that. And there it is, Horst Felbermeyer Senior and Junior and Miro Konopka. Horst Felbermeyer Junior still races, and his son, Horst Felbermeyer, is also racing. So grandfather, father and grandson are now GT racers. Is there an issue with this, or are we just having a drink? We're just having a drink, all right, fair enough. Can't argue with that. So at the moment,
Max Lynn is in the pits, but he has to do that long stop. So time for a drink, as you
say. So too is Hugo Cook. So too car number 4, the Tilly Robertson machine. Where does that leave everything shaking out between the Dansenborgs, Pescarolo, Stuart Wiltshire, Sean Lynn, and this car, Yutaka Tariba? Has he handed over to Alfie Briggs already? He must have, hasn't he? Yeah, they have stopped, so it's Alfie Briggs at the wheel of that car. So that's going to be interesting. Young driver in this LMP2 machine. And right in front of him, I think, is Sean Lynn. So this is what will be a battle for position. So these cars, the BR01s, S&P Racing started off racing customer chassis, Orica 05s, then they had their own cars designed for LMP2, and then moved into LMP1, so a team with plenty of ambition, and the BR01 LMP2 car was certainly a much more forgiving device than their LMP1 car, which was frankly one of the scariest things you will ever see in action. Paul Cope, you just saw leaving in the 2001 Reynard Pro-Tran, probably the last customer car that Adrian Reynard built, I would think. If not, then certainly one of the very last. And another of those Ligier JSP3s. So Mikkel Mack at the wheel of Red 5 now. Car has completed its pit stop, so let's see where that comes in. They've just set the fastest race lap, 1 minute 58.55. That's going some, isn't it? That is lapping very quickly. 36 Max Lynn back on track and back up to speed, chasing Alfie Briggs in the 23 BR01.
Which puts Max Lynn somewhere around about 7th or 8th after his extra long pit stop.
Well, he is right in front of Gregor Fiskin and going very slowly. Max Lynn. So, we're not being told of a safety car. Why are we seeing cars going very, very slowly? Is his door open? No. Why is Gregor Fiskin going very slowly? Door is open. Door was not closed properly. Well, Gregor Fiskin is alongside him, weaving and bright waved yellow flags.
Safety car.
Is that the back of a safety car board?
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, we're not being told on our timing screen. We are now being told on our timing screen that the safety car is out. For why, Keats? For why? There is your answer. So that's Jamie Constable's car number 15. That's another LMP1 Pescarola. That's a 2011 Cup car, and of course that was the one that went shooting off in the gravel into the next county a few laps ago, and the safety car is out to allow recovery. So that's another of the 2011 Pescarolos. The De Silva's car, that's a 2011 Pescarolo as well. And the Dansenborgs, their car number 17 is a 2012 car. So this car and the Dansenborgs car were sister cars in 2011. And I beg your pardon, the De Silva's car was sister cars in 2011. The Dansenborg car was a 2012 Pescarolo. Raced in the European Le Mans Cup and at Le Mans. I'll tell you that, I'm sure, highly worrying moment for Jamie Constable. The distance he went off there did have all the hallmarks of it being a brake failure of some kind. Even with the lock-up, you can't imagine him going that far off. Well, there's a safety car waiting to join and pick up our race leader.
I think that's a second.
I think that is a spare because he's not got his lights on.
No, I think we're already behind the safety car, and just as we thought we were going to start to see the order settle down, we've now got the order not changing, but of course the gaps closing up with drivers coming to the back of the train. But,
and the other problem, of course, is if you are just coming out of the pits and you're expected to be one of the front runners, there's no gaps in the traffic, which there would be if everybody was at racing speed. So overtaking some of those cars, there's Jamie Constable. probably as much of a squeeze for a man of his height getting into this LMP1 car as it is getting into his Tyrrell F1 car. That's one of the joys of being a sensible height, is that everything seems just a bit small. Well, look at the skies overhead compared to how they were an hour ago. We go green, so the safety car, I'm not sure if the safety car even came out, but we are back to green flag racing. Pit window has been closed, and we are at 75% race distance. So, who leads? Well, according to our timing screen, it's Werner Dansenborg in the number 17 Pescarolo. This car, 23 of Alfie Briggs, shown as 4th place behind Stuart Wiltshire and Sean Lynn, with Max Lynn in 5th, Gregor Fiskin in 6th position, and Steve Brooks back in 8th place. Mikkel Mack has had a few less minutes to try and work his magic than he would have hoped. And car number 10, is that Harinder de Silva now, we think, if Tim started behind
I was wrong.
Dansenborg.
I think Harinder did start, and Tim has taken over, so that will be a contender because Tim is the quicker of the two.
Yeah. Well, according to the timing screen, Werner Dansenborg is the race leader, and car number 10 is in 18th place. There seem to be nose to tail on the track. There's Stuart Wiltshire, car number 6. That's the Peugeot that should be in 2nd according to the timing screen. And it might be that the De Silvas lost time in the pit lane and have dropped off the lead lap, being a bit hamstrung by the safety car coming out. And in the background, that will be Sean Lynn in the BR01. Sure enough, car number 27. I was going to say it's the old man, but probably only in reference to Max Lynn. I wouldn't dare suggest that. My life is too valuable. I don't think I want to annoy Sean Lynn in that way. And with a bit between his teeth, I'm not sure how much experience he's got of that car. I'm not sure he really cares how much experience he's got of that car. He is thoroughly enjoying it. The Pescarolo goes through, the Peugeot goes through in 2nd place. There's the BR01 in 3rd. Kreuzer in the Rainbow Marcos, the Eurotech designed and built car that he's been racing since Job was a boy. Just ahead of the 08 car, that's Chris Atkinson. He's in the Orica Formula Le Mans car. Again, an Orica LMP2 chassis with that Corvette V8 motor in the back. And there's your race leader, Werner Dansenborg. Whoa! He got by the LMP3 car, but couldn't quite get the Cerbera. Now he goes a long way around the outside. He doesn't want to waste any time. Steve Brooks isn't, beg your pardon, Stuart Wiltshire isn't catching him at the moment. The Peugeot that's in 2nd place.
5 seconds between them.
Yeah, 5 second margin despite the safety car.
And then it's Sean Lynn next up, and Max Lynn is back in 5th place, but he's not yet crossed the timing line, so now we can see he's 35 seconds behind the leader.
Right, 35 seconds and 7 minutes. That doesn't work very well for Max Lynn, does it?
Mikkel Mack could well make it to the podium, though, even higher, because a 57.5 now for Mikkel Mack.
Yeah, but he's 42 seconds off the lead, which is still 35 seconds off 3rd. In 6 minutes. Again, I'm saying that the safety car has undone that race as well. The De Silvas, by the way, are down in 18th place as all the pit stop adjustments have sorted themselves out. So it's Alfie Briggs in 4th position. He's catching this little battle of unequals. Kreuzer in the Marcos, who probably knows his car better than anybody in this entire paddock knows their car, because he's been racing that LM600 for easily 20 years. And here comes the car in 4th place, trying to get by that battle of the Marcos and the Formula One car. It was a category designed to help bolster endurance racing fields, both in Europe and in the IMSA North American Series. Very successful, brought a lot of new drivers into the sport, so it was quite a customer-friendly car. And here comes the BR01, Alfie Briggs flashing the headlights, trying to get his way further up the order. Now you can tell it's Alfie because that car's got more white on the upper body. When you see Sean and Max Lynn's BR01s, run by the same team but from a different season, it's much more blue. The whole of the nose is blue. It's a darker chrome blue, white and red colour scheme. So that's how you know that that is Alfie Briggs. So Sean Lynn in third, Max Lynn in fifth. Max qualified in 9th place, Sean down in 13th. So Sean has certainly made the best of the race so far. Going by 69, that's the Jack Fabi Norma. Started by Jack, wasn't it, I think?
Stuart Wiltshire in second place, closed in by 0.2 of a second, so he's got it below 5 seconds now to 4.8, first to second. With only 4 minutes to go, that's going to be hard work for Stuart to get past the Donsenberg car.
Yeah. And Sean Lynn and Alfie Briggs in third and fourth. Their last laps were 2 minutes 7. But the cars in first, second and fifth were lapping in 2 minute 1. And Mikkel Mack, his last lap, the fastest lap of the race, 1:59.208, or the second fastest lap of the race for him, 1:59.208. He set the fastest lap at 1:57.5, which is 6 seconds a lap quicker than the leaders are currently doing. And he is trimming the gap to Max Lynn, but it's still 3 seconds and only 3 minutes of racing remain. That might be a real grandstand finish actually between Mikkel Mack in the red 5 Zytek and Max Lynn in the number 36 BR01. Here comes the Peugeot, Stuart Wiltshire in second place, and you saw the gap there back from Werner Dansenborg. Still 6.5 seconds, Werner responding nicely. Sean Lynn going quicker than he has at any stage in the race now, 2:03.67, his fastest race lap in the final few minutes. Well, at the bottom of the picture, there's your race leader, car number 17, Werner Dansenborg, taking over from his dad, going by the Mosler. Car number 31, the Harry Barton, Jeremy Lazuel driven car, the orange and black machine. Purpose-built race car. They did make road car versions, but it's really a race car with again with full factory Corvette motor behind, so plenty of them. There's red 5. Here we go. This is where it's sorting itself out. Mikkel Mack. This is for 5th place, right behind Max Lynn, and they are going by another of the BR01s. Is that Alfie Briggs? That's Alfie Briggs. So they've gone by Alfie Briggs, and Mikkel Mack has gone by Max Lynn as well. He's done 2 of them on the Wellington Straight. Surely that's not long enough. What a drive for Mikkel Mack. Wow, that's sensational. Now, if he was just wearing a red, white and blue familiar helmet, that would be even more impressive. It's not unlike a Nigel Mansell livery, but it's not quite the same. It's got the red and white of Denmark on it, but Mikkel Mack, boom, in 1 lap, 5th to 3rd, 6th to 4th rather. So went by Alfie Briggs and Max Lynn on the same straight. So what is the margin now? It's still 20 odd seconds, isn't it, to Sean Lynn, and a minute to go. They're coming down the Hanger Straight. It will be this and 1 more lap. Well, some very famous names on the rollover hoop. Greg and Leo Mansell and Father Nigel raced that car together at Le Mans. And here is Werner Dansenborg, another father and son combination in this car. Again, behind them, car number 10, Tim and Herendra Silva. And which of the Peugeots is that? Is that Stuart Wiltshire or is that... No, it's Steve Brooks. That's Steve Brooks. And he has dropped off and now gets it back on track and moving once more. So another little Control-Alt-Delete moment. No, what? It was Steve Brooks, yes, sorry. Just had a little heart and mouth moment there. But that was the second place car. It's not. Werner Dansenborg leads. on what will be the last lap. The checkered flag will be out for him when he gets out of Club Corner for the final time. Stuart Wiltshire 5.8 seconds back is not going to catch him. Sean Lynn in third place, and Mikkel Mack's not going to make up 13, 14 seconds on Sean Lynn, no matter how hard he tries. There's Lynn in the background.
Although he was 8 seconds a lap quicker than Sean Lynn last time around. 8 seconds, so
wow.
he could still do it.
Team formation from these two different era Pescarolos. Tim De Silva in car number 10 goes around Werner Dansenborg. Does that mean he gets another lap? It does mean he gets another lap, doesn't he? Because then the winner will take the checkered flag. So he will be chasing the Cummins and Ellis car, and that is car number 47, the KCMG LMP2 car. But the checkered flag is out, and it is a sensational victory for Christoph and Werner Dansenborg, the father and son, their first time in the car. Second across the line, the Peugeot of Stuart Wiltshire, hidden by the Bentley. And in third place, we are waiting for Sean Lynn in the chrome blue and red BR01. Here he is, this is third, and how far behind is the chasing Mikkel Mack? It's going to be a decent handful of seconds. There he is in red 5, across the line in fourth. Didn't make the podium, but had there not been a safety car, you think he absolutely would have. He slashed that lead down to 8 seconds behind Sean Lynn. Max Lynn finishes in 5th, and I think Alfie Brooks will take the line in 6th position. He has crossed the line in 6th place. Well, there is that our LMP3 winner? It might well be. I think it is. The Fabi Kennedy car number 69, could well be our LMP3 winner. But there, car number 17 in the 2010 Pescarolo. Christoph and Werner Dansenborg, a French father and son driving combination in a French-built car. Belgians, I beg your pardon, they are. Okay, Walloons. So French-speaking Belgians rather than Flemish Belgians. So all right, we'll give the francophone link. Thank you for that. Yeah, congratulations to Christoph and Werner Dansenborg. And when you looked at this grid, I mean, the quality and the depth and the variety of the machinery, this was anybody's race, wasn't it? Especially when you threw in the vagaries of wet weather, pit stops, and whose tyres might survive and whose might not. That was a really great race. Really enjoyed that.
And you also throw in the variation of times on the pit stops depending on the drivers, and then the safety car, which really, as you'd already said, did for the Frieser and Mikkel Mack car. If they hadn't had the safety car, he would have probably made up another place.
There he is, Mikkel Mack on board the ex-Mansell family Beechdean Zytek. And of course, we get to do it all again tomorrow afternoon.
We do.
Yeah.
And that should be, forecast correct, is a dry race.
That will be our pre-anti-penultimate race.
Yeah.
It won't actually be our anti-penultimate race, won't it? Race 17 of 20, anti-penultimate. There we go. No, pre-anti-penultimate. Oh, I don't know. Race 17 of 20s, yeah. So tomorrow afternoon, hopefully. Well, will the Dansenborg father and son duo make it 2 out of 2? Will Mikkel Mack work his magic and finally give a win to the Mansell family car? Or will we see the Peugeots dominate in the dry, if it is indeed dry? Yeah, I think the team are as thrilled and surprised as the driver, probably, with that result. Stuart Wiltshire in second place in his Peugeot 90X. That was the development of the turbo diesel 908, the car with which Peugeot finally did manage to triumph at Le Mans. And in third place, car number 27 in the BR01 LMP2 car, Sean Lynn. Yutaka Terida there on the hard standing, giving a little ripple of applause. as Alfie Briggs comes in. And our race winners, our top three, are with Bryn Lucas. Bryn, I sense you have some very happy drivers with you.
Yoda in many ways, aren't you? And I can confirm I do have the race winner here, father and son combo. It must be lovely to race with your dad and to take a victory.
I mean, it's the best, especially the victory is the cherry on the top. The most important part is a father and son duo. But we couldn't be happier. It's our first time in the car, and it's my first endurance race. I mean, endurance, so I'm so happy, and what a car.
Mini endurance, right?
Sorry?
It's a mini endurance race.
Yeah, mini endurance. I mean, it's
What was it like for you out there, though? Because we know it's been very tricky conditions-wise today.
Yeah, conditions have been tricky. I was in the F1 race right before, so which was very wet. So here I'm lucky because my dad managed to dry the track a bit for me. So I got the easy part, and from there, just pedal to the metal and see where it goes.
You made it easy for him, he says. So you got the harder job with the wet track.
Yeah, well, it was really first time for us because we didn't know the car. First time on the wet, so. But I immediately felt very confident with the car, and it made me push and keep the others behind. Yeah, really happy about that.
What's it like for you getting to race with your son then?
Sorry?
What's it like for you being able to race with your son?
It's amazing. I mean, it's a good bonding times, and you know, trying to improve performance. Both of us. It's a lot of preparation outside the race also, and it's good to have that challenge, both of us together, you see.
Raced up, well, congratulations. It's all about memories, isn't it, motorsport? Let's go and find out the thoughts of our second place driver. It's very busy around here, though, and here he is, Stuart. That was a great performance out there for you all.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. We had a bit of a few issues in qualifying with some engineering issues, should we say, that we cured, and I'm glad to say this is the first time I've driven a car since last October, so fantastic. Yeah,
Baptism of fire, really, wasn't it, out here?
it's a little bit moist, as people like to say, but look, it was a great race. I didn't know where I was until the end after the pit stops. You know how confusing it gets here, but I'm just delighted that I brought it home in P2 from a P8 position. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, real gain there too. So well done to you. Hopefully trying to find. Thanks very much, Stuart. Hopefully trying to find our third place finishers, but not sure they're anywhere nearby. So for now, I'll hand back to you up there, Martin.
They're still coming around the circuit.
They're still coming around the circuit, says Stuart. Yeah, Sean Lynn may possibly have missed a checkered flag, but here we go. So there you go, historic piece of motorsport history once more in the books, and that's about half the length of a Michelin Le Mans Cup race, so still a good run out for the cars. Christophe van Werner Dansenburg victorious in the Pescarolo ahead of Stuart Wiltshire's Peugeot and the BR01 of Sean Lynn. Mickelmack nearly made it onto the podium but finished fourth in Red 5, the Mansell family Zytek, and a Max Lynn's BR01 and the similar car of Tariba and Briggs. Gregor Fiskin in the Roll Centre Racing Dallara in 7th, and of Hugo Cook's early spinner, the Lola B12. Michael Birch in his Ligier finishing in 9th, and our top P3 car was John Minshaw's Demon Tweaks Ligier in 10th position. Who was our top GT car? Nobody in the top 20. Again, we've got more Morgans, Pescarolos and Peugeots after that spin for Steve Brooks at the end of the race, and more P3 cars. Fabi Kennedy car wasn't our top LMP3 car in the end. The Marcus of Koreuser, of course he was the best GT car, of course he was, ahead of the Gamsky Wiley Bentley and Ian Stinton in the ex-Martin Short Rob Bath TBR Cerbera. Well, there you go, a big field of big cars and highly entertaining. Started pretty wet and ended up in late summer sunshine.